guest here, Marie Vargas. I have to tell you that we're starting a little late because BitChat has now launched this brand new platform and we love it, but it takes a little time to navigate. We're still we're still playing with the technology so that we can bring you the best show possible. Thank you for hanging in there. And don't forget, give us a thumbs up, give us a like so that we can keep knowing what you guys are interested in. Now, Marie was supposed to be here last week, but we canceled the show. And thank you for coming back a week later, by the way. But we canceled the show because I was ill. Who gets sick in June? Me. I got sick in June with the flu. I'm still like a little hacky. I even have like a little I was going to say snot rag, but I'm just going to say my little tissue is hidden behind my sunflower bush. So if I have to cough, if I have to hack, let me apologize ahead of time. That gives me a chance to introduce you. Or do you do introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Marie Vargas, also known as the Hollywood Witch. I'm a celebrity psychic.
I didn't know you were known as the Hollywood Witch.
Oh, honey, it's my brand.
Cool.
I really didn't use it that much, but I find that a lot of people enjoy it. It resonates with them. I think that it's become more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm billed as a celebrity psychic, and I'm Hindu. I don't practice Wicca, but I do a little bit of love magic.
I love that. I love how you've married all those different things into one and made it unique to you.
I wouldn't call it a marriage, more like an open relationship.
She's so funny. Well, you're here to talk about love, so it makes sense that you would have that play on words. So she's here to talk about, as a celebrity psychic, I guess I'd love to know, I think the audience would love to know, how did you, I mean, I'm assuming you've always known you were psychic or you grew into being psychic, but how did you become a celebrity psychic? How did that open up to you?
My goodness. I was born as a triple Libra. I had a car accident at the age of 19, and I was in a coma for 3 days, and I woke up knowing what my nurses' love lives were like.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
You were, I mean, the interesting part is that you were in a coma for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think I've met anybody that's ever been in a coma.
I think that I was genetically predisposed to being psychic.
Right.
But the trauma of the coma actually induced my brain to make different pathways over areas that increased my ability. I also came out of it with a scar. You see this? In the shape of a crescent moon.
I don't know if they can see.
A crescent moon and a star, which is traditionally the symbol of the psychic, with a crescent moon and the third eye. So I think I was born into it. I think it was my destiny, my dharma. I was married to an Oscar-winning, Grammy-winning record producer, John King. He was my college sweetheart. That was my entree into the legitimate First Wives Club of Hollywood, because I have Oscar in my background. And from there, I was just able to gain access to celebrities because it was really where I had come from. It wasn't something that I was invading.
Yeah.
I graduated with a degree in film, and it was very easy for me to transition from being a couture publicist. I worked in Beverly Hills for a couture designer for 15 years.
We can tell. Look at you.
Oh, thank you.
You look very couture. I could see it with the dress and the.
Well, this is knockoff Gucci. Thank you. It was very easy for me to transition into advising celebrities because it's what I'd done all along as a PR anyway.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wow. I'm still hung up on the coma. I'm just curious. Do you remember?
Yes.
That, can you tell us? I mean, I know you mentioned the nurse and the love lives. I didn't know if that was something that you got psychically or if that was because there was something that happened while you were in the coma.
I got it psychically. And in hindsight, I thought that nothing had happened. They gave me some medication that was supposed to take away the memory, I guess, to prevent me from getting PTSD. And I was having these weird dreams, and my doctor finally said, well, we didn't want to tell you this because we didn't want to freak you out, more like we didn't want to get sued, but you died. And wow. I'm like, oh, okay, so flying up over my body wasn't really a dream. And he said, well, it was probably a hallucination. And one of the nurses asked me, did you see Jesus? And I said, no, I don't think I was ready to go, so they didn't bother him. They kept me in the waiting room. But I detached from my body, and I felt a complete unity with the universe. I had no questions because I knew all the answers. And I really wanted to stay. But I woke up in my body, and when I looked over, I saw a machine going up and down and helping me breathe. And then I looked up at my nurse and knew she was going through a difficult time, and I thought, I'm crazy.
Now, how did you know that?
I just
Oh, you
knew.
just know. Okay.
And my husband at the time looked at me and started crying, and I thought, I guess this means I'm going to die. And they were like, no, 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 no. You've been in a coma for 3 days. We're crying because you just woke up.
Wow, that's amazing. It's really amazing to me when people have NDEs. I think they're called near-death experiences, and a lot of times that's the first thing that they report is that they are able to see themselves from a different vantage point.
Yes.
You know,
I
that's the
thought I
first
was
sign.
just dreaming. I thought, this is a hallucination. I didn't even know why I was in the accident until they explained it to me.
Well, that's also what they told you. They told you that you were having a hallucination because the doctors couldn't explain it.
But it was my first TV appearance. I was the top of the hour on Fox News.
Wow.
With my accident.
Yay!
That was my first TV
Top of the
appearance.
hour. That was your initiation.
Yes.
And then you got the crescent moon. There you go.
Yes, 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 yes.
So then how did it bridge over to celebrity? Because I know you've done a lot of, like you were on
Extra.
You were on Extra. What else? You told me a few of the
I
things.
started on Entertainment Tonight.
Right.
I was on the Love and Sex Report with Patty Stanger, the Millionaire Matchmaker.
Mhm.
I've been on several news outlets, local news, Channel 13. I've been on several things. I think you can check out my website, www.marievargas.com, and I have most of them on there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't mention the ones where I think I'm fat. I don't like being on video.
Because you're couture. That's
yes,
why.
That's right.
You're all into fashion.
Yes, but if you look at my website, you'll get a glimpse of what I've done. It was an easy transition from couture to dealing with celebrities, since I advise celebrities as a publicist anyway. But what I discovered was, as a psychic, it added more depth, it added more intimacy, and everybody wants a connection with the supernatural. And I think even more so if you're a celebrity, because the search for authenticity goes to spirituality after you've had everything else in the world.
That's a very good. I mean, that's what we hope. That's what we hope happens. I mean, if we could talk about celebrities, let's bring Johnny Depp into the picture.
Oh,
I mean, well, he was one of those people, though. I think this show is going to be dominated by talking about celebrities and getting Marie's psychic input, but also we have a little surprise for everybody. We have our own the metaphysically speaking very own couple of newlyweds.
We have success story.
We have newlyweds coming on the show today. We can't bring you the wedding. We can't even give you any wedding cake, but we can bring you the newlyweds, and that's going to come if you stick around. Don't forget to heart us and like us. But anyway, let's talk about Johnny Depp for a minute, because he was always one of my favorite actors. And the reason I loved him, I mean, there's lots of reasons to love Johnny Depp. I mean, he's endearing, he's talented, he's sexy, he pulls out different characters. But the most important thing about him that really stuck with me is how he rejected Hollywood to go live in France. Mm-hmm. He met a woman that was an actress. She was an actress, but she was not a Hollywood actress. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like he was really into just the artist journey. Mm-hmm. But then something happened. He lost spirituality. And
I think it's the typical dark night of the soul. I think that every artist has gone through it. Speaking of artists, Picasso, for example, Modigliani, the great ones always had periods of tumultuous reinvention. And so I think he is on the precipice of a reinvention, probably coming out of a Saturn return. Midlife crisis. And
I don't know if they could hear you.
Midlife crisis. Sorry, Johnny. You're so cute.
Well, he can still come on and rebuke anything. You can come on the show, Johnny.
Come on and do anything you want, Johnny. Because remember, he had the relationship with Vanessa. It dissolved. They have 2 beautiful children. They're successfully co-parenting. But he went to the younger woman, who automatically brought him into...
She kind of ruined him.
Nobody ruins Johnny. Come on.
Well, he's not, he's kind of like living a life of decadence and addiction, and he's not, his career is certainly not doing as well as it was.
Yeah, but you know what? Downey, for example. Okay. Who else? Downey's probably the best example. Mel Gibson's finally gotten retribution, and forgiveness as a director, but not as a writer. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle because these beings, these presences, these celebrities have a different vibration, and they're born that way. Marilyn Monroe, for example, had a different vibration regardless of her tragedies and her instability. She was here for a purpose. So their karma, their dharma, is decidedly different than ours. And I think that Johnny has been able to successfully communicate what he's been here to communicate, and there's going to be even more after he reinvents himself.
So you heard it from Marie that Johnny is going to be reinventing himself.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I just picked up on, that there's a big transition coming for him.
Yes, and I don't think it's going to have as much to do with acting as I do with teaching. At his age, his greatest gift is his experience, and I think that if he is so inclined, he's going to pass that on to a new generation of actors. I'm excited.
Cool.
I'm excited.
You heard it here.
Well, Robert Redford went on to do a film festival. I think Johnny's going to do something along the same lines.
And that film festival, I mean, come on, the Sundance film, I mean,
Amazing.
that itself has a life of its own.
Exactly.
Where it started in the 90s to where it's become.
But I think part of his legacy is going to be his music. I think that that's where he's going to find a means to reinvent himself because he's freer. Even after the tragedy with River Phoenix, which kind of changed his relationship to music, I think he's going to go back to that because it's his roots.
God, River Phoenix, that's a name from the past. Every time I go by the Viper Room, though, I think about that.
Yes.
There's probably a lot of ghosts in Hollywood, don't you think?
Too many. Too many. Elizabeth Taylor is my favorite.
Is she your favorite ghost?
She's my favorite everything. Saint Elizabeth is my guardian angel. If you see diamonds here, it's Elizabeth.
I actually met Elizabeth Taylor once. She came,
So
she
did I.
walked around with her little dog. Really nice woman, really nice woman.
I like a lot of her quotes. She called herself Mother Courage. And there was a quote that she said, get yourself together, put your lipstick on, and carry. I love that. She was a real trooper.
Yeah.
And she was one of the signature archetypes of the twin flame in this particular century, Elizabeth and Richard Burton.
So actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that she mentioned twin flames because one of the things, before we get into the celebrityism of the show and what you do and your predictions, I thought it might be a good idea to explore soulmates versus twin flames. And, we can bring in life partners. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but about a month ago, I did a show with a matchmaker. She's a professional matchmaker, not a celebrity matchmaker,
Not
but
Patty.
Not Patty, I guess, apparently.
Hi, Patty.
But her name is Michelle Hubachuk. And she does, she's called upon and she helps people that way. She helps find people for other people. I mean, it's really interesting. And we talked a little bit about soulmates and things like that. But I wanted to talk for the audience because I don't think we can ever discuss those two topics or that single topic enough because there is a difference between soulmates and twin flames.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's easier to have a relationship that's functional with a soulmate than it is with a twin flame because twin flame relationships are very karmic and very transformative.
Right.
Now, there's always a choice. One thing that I want to dispel is the belief that your twin flame is your ultimate partner. Sometimes your twin flame can be your defeat.
Right. So I want to read. I actually did a little research today and I came up with a couple of definitions because we can talk about our own experiences, but I wanted to see what Webster's had to say.
Okay.
So I'm going to read off what you just said. So you talked about, that was exactly right with the twin flames because the definition is they show you what you most desire as well as what you most fear. Their purpose is not and has never been to make you feel settled or comfortable, but to help to introduce you to yourself.
Amy Winehouse and Blake Fielder Civil. That relationship ended in tragedy, but while she was processing it, her greatest albums came out of it.
Yes.
And in that case, she died and he remarried, but I know that he will never forget her. And the music, if that relationship was simply to bring out that catalog of music, who is to say that that didn't warrant it, because it's incredibly beautiful.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's something that comes from within us. Um, so also they say it's the twin flame. Much of what you're saying is a divine. It's a divine relationship with a purpose. So there's always a higher purpose, and it's just triggering you to wake up to your real self. And sometimes that can be very disruptive or chaotic or difficult.
Well, if you're a monster, then you're both monsters.
Or what if one twin flame is a monster and the other twin flame, or would they both have to be like the same?
Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, monsters of talent, ego, destruction, but what a love. What an incredible love. They were both extremely creative, but also extremely volatile. Burton likened it to clapping two sticks of dynamite together.
Is that what he said?
Yes, yes. But he also found renewal in their relationship because of the volatility. He is quoted as saying, Elizabeth is the eternal one night stand. And for that generation, that was probably one of the most romantic things that a man could ever say.
Definitely. Okay, and then should we talk about what soulmate definitions are?
Sure.
So a soulmate, and it's a little bit more tepid. It wasn't quite as fiery as the twin flame.
That's not true. It depends on the karmic
Well,
pact.
according to the Webster's, it says a person you have an immediate connection the moment you meet, and possibly someone that you may spend your life with. So it seemed to me that soulmates were more, a lot of people marry their soulmates, but not always, and that it has to do more with a support system, finding somebody that is supposed to support your journey. Whereas I think the twin flame is somebody that's supposed to kind of unsettle you and possibly disrupt your journey if you're on the wrong journey.
No, it's the testifier.
It's a testifier.
It is the Bridges of Madison County. She married her soulmate. She lived with him until she died. But her twin flame, that photographer, came and reminded her what it was like to be a human being. And then when she left the letters to her children, she told them.
You know all these movies. You are a celebrity psychic. You have them all like.
Thank you.
I mean, how long ago was that? That was like all the way back in 2000.
I remember every single movie that ever made me. Titanic makes me weep like a baby. Still to this day.
Do you know The Fly with Jeff Goldblum made me weep like a baby?
Oh, I love that.
And Gina Davis, he's like, am I a man who believed I was a fly, or am I a fly who believed he was a man?
I'm an insect who believed he was a man. I remember that very well. And their relationship started, I think, because of that movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of relationships start because of movies.
Look at what happened. He put her through so much. So much. And now he's being chased by dinosaurs. Who knew?
Yeah, a lot of relationships start with movies, like Brad and Angelina.
Oh,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Now, their attraction is always going to remain fiery. I don't think they'll get married again, but I do think they might end up in bed together again.
Now, I was so shocked when he and Angelina wound up together. I was so happy because they seemed to have this same life mission, to have family, create children, do good in the world, be philanthropists. I mean, he's a Sag, she's a Gemini. They perfectly complement each other in the world of astrology. And, when he was with Jennifer Aniston at the time, from what I know and from what I've heard, also my husband worked their wedding, Jennifer and Brad. She was really into her career. She wasn't really there yet. She wasn't ready. She still hasn't had children.
She was the soulmate relationship. He left that to be
with his twin flame,
which burned him out. I'm telling you, their relationship reminds me of so much of Taylor and Burton, who couldn't get enough of each other. Once again, clapping two sticks of dynamite together. But look at the outcome. Beautiful children. Beautiful children who are probably going to move on and be as philanthropic as their parents. So in that respect, if they've created an entire family of philanthropists, who's to say it wasn't worth that?
Yeah. I was just personally disappointed because I really thought they would go on and on.
I think they will.
Oh, you do?
I don't think it's ever going to end. I don't think they're going to get married again, though. I think Angie's going to be like, maybe no.
Hmm.
But that fire is always going to be there. It's always going to be there.
And it's funny too that a lot of people start with movies they've done because it becomes that question of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Like, I believe that people are called upon as actors to play the role they're meant to discover within themselves, and also possibly to meet the people they're supposed to discover within their lives.
Liam Neeson, Natasha Richardson, my favorite tragic love story. They met on a movie. They had a wonderful family. They worked together. She dies in a freak accident. For me,
Right.
that's
That was a skiing accident, right?
yeah. For me, that's Titanic. That is the replay of that archetype in Titanic.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Do you want my tissue? I'd give you my tissue, but
No,
I've used
fine.
it.
I'm fine.
All right, let's go. I'm going to shoot a couple of people out here. Can I? Is that
Of
okay?
course.
So there's a couple of hot affairs going on right now. On again, off again. Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner. They've called off their divorce. They're trying to make a go of it.
Some people are saying, are they twin flames? And I'm like, no. I think this is an ongoing soulmate karmic debt situation. That they are trying to pay off each other's karmic debt.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, it's got to be twin flame. I just don't feel it. I feel like it's soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. But
right. Well, I think she seems like she's there to stabilize him because she's trying to walk away and he doesn't want to lose the kids. And she's got enough love in my opinion, she seems like she has enough love for 5 people.
She has enough kids.
I mean, she's very, very loving.
She has enough children. She doesn't need to raise them. Are you hearing me, darling?
Oh.
You don't need to raise an adult man. It's okay. The karmic debt's been paid, Jennifer. It's all right.
You think she should walk away from Ben Affleck?
Oh, I think that if she snapped her fingers, he'd be back in a minute. But I think that there is a better man out there for her, and he's younger.
Okay, well, if Jennifer Garner's watching this, if Ben Affleck's watching this, we better be careful. But if Ben Affleck's watching this, then he better step it up.
Batman, look out for Robin. Next question.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Let's talk about Donald and Melania, because they have not lived together. I know she's with her son in Trump Tower, but there's a bit of a scandal going on with the head of security for Tiffany's. I think his name is Henry Ciamera, also known as Hank. So they have something that I don't know if it's do you think it's the tabloids that are creating that just to keep the soap opera around Donald Trump alive, or do you think there might be something?
I think there might be something, and it's only because Melania is a young, vital, beautiful woman. And Donald is not so young. With all due respect, he's powerful. There's a lot of attractiveness in that. But I don't think Melania has reached her peak yet. And I think when she does, it's going to be different. I think that she is going to be formidable and not quite so reserved. I think that Donald
You have such a lovely way of speaking.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that Donald is in for a few surprises.
Okay.
I'm not going to predict as to what he's going to do about them. Because, let them have their private life. However, I think that what's going to bring it out is not him so much as it is protectiveness of her son. She is an incredible protective mother.
Right.
And I think that that's going to bring that part of her to the forefront.
Yes, and you can see that. You can see that when she's with her son, and you can see that in her, that is probably the single most important thing in her life.
Absolutely.
I mean, as it probably at this point should be.
No, but there's something more to her. I think that the country could benefit from her nurturing. And I think he needs to allow her to do that and to nurture.
But if they were really soulmates, the age also might not be a factor.
I don't think they're soulmates.
Okay.
I don't think they're soulmates. I think that there's karmic debt there. I don't think they're twin flames. But you don't necessarily have to marry your twin flame or a soulmate. You gotta read on that. I think they're connected karmically, but this has a lot to do with Donald's karmic debt. But I'm not going to go into that further because, once again, they're entitled to a private life. But there is more to that than it seems.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Let's talk a little bit before we do the second part of the show. Let's talk a little bit about an infamous set of twin flames.
Yes.
And I did bring this up before Marie came on because I said I really want to bring this up. It's in the news right now, it's current, but it's also very interesting and very controversial. And that was the story with Mary Kay Letourneau and her lover, who was in sixth grade at the time, Billy Furlew. And she fell in love with her student, or he fell in love with her. It's difficult to say what happened first. She went to jail for him. She had children with him, and when he was old enough, he married her when she got out of jail, and they've been together for 20 years, and now he's filing for divorce.
I think that in that particular situation, they had a previous life together where he died at a very young age, and she grieved for him, and he came back at the same age he died, and so they were allowed to pick up that relationship from that point on.
But he was 12. So you think they had a relationship when they were both 12, or do you think it was the same?
They were in love. The movie that comes to mind is The Lovely Bones. Remember in that movie, she stayed on Earth until she could kiss the boy.
I didn't see that. I read that book.
They were both kids.
That's a great movie, isn't it?
She stayed on Earth until they could kiss the boy. So if we went to The Lovely Bones and said, what would happen? What if he stayed that age? He was older than 12, but what if he stayed that age and she was older and they picked up their relationship? You know, kids can fall in love. Love is not...
Oh, of course, because inside we're not our chronological age. We have we're not our biological age, I should say. We have a timeless age that we all identify with, and I think some 12-year-olds feel like they're 40, you know?
No, I don't. I think that they've had many lives together. And I think that she should have allowed him to experience his life normally, but the compulsion to complete that cycle, the last kiss in The Lovely Bones, was overwhelming, and they paid the price for it. But having paid that price and moved on, we're only going to find out years later if it was actually worth it. But it's a Lovely Bone situation.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where they both wind up, because she had 4 children with a husband that she had met in either high school or college, and we'll see what happens with Billy. They were on Barbara Waters. Barbara
Walla.
I know, I was almost going to say that.
What do you think? Tell me what you think.
About Billy and Mary Kay Letourneau. I think that that to me is more of an example of twin flames, because I think it was very hard for them to resist each other. One thing that I read that I think is very interesting is, if you meet the right person at the wrong time, it's the wrong person.
I've been there so many times.
So a lot of people will say, I met the right person, but it wasn't the right time for us. As being on this planet, as human beings, we have free will, and I think we have to exercise a certain amount of constraint. I mean, sometimes you might see somebody and you might say, well, I don't like those shoes, but you're able to restrain yourself from saying that. So maybe it's a little bit harder, but again, if it's the right person at the wrong time, then it's not the right person.
Well, I think that it has
they could have, but I think they could have explored what they needed to explore with a certain amount of containment. Like, he wanted to kiss her first, and he asked her if she'd be willing to have an affair when he was really, really extremely young, and she let herself kind of fall into that untamed. So maybe it was a test for her. Maybe they could have still had the emotional connection, which probably would have turned into a different type of connection over time.
I have to agree. What I feel about that is, what spirituality is supposed to teach us throughout all our lives, it exists outside the limitations of this physical form. And even though that attraction appeared to both of them to be a sexual attraction, it was really an emotional attraction based on intense intimacy.
Yes, first.
And what people don't understand is, you can have that level of intimacy, you can have that level of commitment without having sex. I think it's Western civilization that insists that it has to be consummated for it to be
Yeah.
sacred. But in Asian civilizations, celibacy is actually the path to spirituality, but that does not exclude the intimacy of the heart. And I think that's what we need to learn.
Mm-hmm. That's very well said.
Thank you.
So what do you think? Do you think our guests are really like chomping at the bit to find out? Now, this show was about love in Hollywood and love in your own backyard. So now we're going to switch over. We're going to do the second part of the show, which is about love in your neighborhood, love in your own backyard. And we're going to welcome our newlywed guests. Come on down. We have Justin and Nikki.
Hi, you guys.
Hi, it's the newlyweds.
Yay.
Have a seat. We're so excited. You're going to give a lot of people out there, some ideas about what love is about and how people can transition into what they want. So, hey, say hi. when was do you want to tell them when your wedding date was?
Yeah, it was June 24th, Saturday.
Yeah,
which was
last Saturday.
A week ago yesterday was your wedding.
Yeah.
So you don't get much more newlywedish unless I did the show at a wedding. I could try to find somebody getting married and do the show there.
Oh,
but
no, they're still glowing, baby. Glow is still here.
So thank you for coming down and thank you for being a part of the show. And so let's talk to you first, Nikki. How was your wedding day? You want to tell us any key things about it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was better than we had expected, and we really didn't know what to expect. It was just kind of one of those things where we're just going to show up and let's just see what happens. And I think it all worked out beautifully. And I honestly, I wasn't in control. I didn't feel in control of any of it. I felt like spirit was in control of everything, and I just listened to that and tried to go with the flow as much as possible, and it worked out to where we had the wedding on the beach. And that morning as we were driving in, there was like a whole pod of dolphins just swimming with us in the direction to the location where we were. They were all like jumping out of the water. There was at least 10 of them. There was so many. And the whole time we were there, in a lot of the pictures, I'm looking away because I kept looking at the ocean. I was like, oh my God, the dolphins.
But tell the audience what you had told me about what you had asked for about the dolphins. I mean, if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I had been meditating a couple days before as the ceremony was approaching, and my mother's passed away, and she's been passed away for almost a decade already. And I feel like I talk to her a lot through nature, and so I just put it out there in the universe. I said, Mom, spirit guides, I know you guys are with me, you guys have made this all happen to this point. I was like, if there's one wish I could ask for my wedding day on this beautiful beach, it would be to see dolphins. Just let me know you're with me through the dolphins, through the animals. And sure enough, as soon as we got there, they were there. And I was so happy to see that, and that's why I kept looking away. I was like, they're here.
Stop the wedding.
I was ready to go into the water with my wedding dress. They literally had to stop me and like, hey, come back, because I was already like up to my hips in the water, like with my dress.
Well, you took a lot. I saw some of your photos. By the way, Nikki's been on the show before. She's been on the show twice, so I love having you on the show. But yeah, you sent me some of the pictures, and you were like practically in the water.
Yeah, I really literally was. They literally had to tell me, get back over here.
I think that's pretty profound, and it also shows that we may not, for those of you who want to communicate with the universe, really the universe listens, and sometimes we don't get those immediate responses like you did, but you're also very tuned in, and you do meditate, and you do a lot of spiritual work.
Also, it just seems like a lot of the events leading up to the beach ceremony, I just feel like the ocean has been calling me a lot, and I've been communicating a lot with nature, through the ocean. And my middle name, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but my middle name is actually Sirena, which in Spanish,
the mermaid,
that means mermaid. So I just felt like everything synchronized to what it was supposed to be, what it should have been, and it was. And I feel like the dolphins, not only was it a gift from spirit to be able to see that, it was also like a confirmation, like, yes, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
And your mom.
And with who I am supposed to be.
Oh, that's
and-
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to Justin now. So Justin, for how long have you guys been together? I'm not sure.
A little over 4 years.
It's a nice chunk of
Yeah.
time.
Impressive. You got him in 4 years. Everybody
Mhm.
clap.
So when you met Nikki, now this is a question that, you know, it can go either way because we don't always know. We can't always see clearly when we first meet somebody. And sometimes you meet somebody and you're like, this is the one, and it's love at first sight, and
Yeah.
it's the furthest thing from it. Did you have any inkling when you met Nikki that you might be spending your life with her?
Not at first. It took a few dates to kind of see that we're kind of meant for each other.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like the year before, I had a strong feeling that, you know, I would meet somebody that I was hoping to meet, and sure enough, I met her. So
Was there anything in particular that gave you that feeling that you were meant to, or was it like a clicking, like you just clicked, or was there anything that happened that solidified that for you, a point that turned?
kind of just seeing that, you know, we had a lot of things in common, like music, and like we had like some sort of bonding with that.
Hmm. A lot of people say that when they meet the person, I've asked people this when they're married, like, how did you know? I asked a lot of people before I got married and before I met my husband, because I was always fascinated by how all these relationships, like my father used to say, you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs.
Mhm.
Oh, I've done that.
So I was fascinated by all these people that had been together for a long time. And I thought, how did they get there? You know, when I saw people breaking up and so on and so forth. And most of the people I asked, they would say that they had a feeling of comfort that superseded any other relationship. There was just a
Mhm.
comfortability that they couldn't really put their finger on, that they felt safe with that person.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then there's also the openness that you want to continue to walk on that road together. When I got married, I remember we went to the place where we got where we actually had wound up having our ceremony, and the person who facilitates it sat with us for a few minutes, and she said, you know, marriage is really about this walk that we take on this spiritual journey called life, and each of us has to carry a load, and the load is somewhat heavy. And really, when you make a commitment into marriage and that kind of union, you're essentially saying, here, I'm going to help you with that load, and I will also have you help me with mine. So that to me, I thought, wow, it's like so simple,
Mhm.
but I was like, that's a beautiful
It's
way
not
to say it.
simple at all. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How did you propose? I think everybody.
I thought you were going to ask me a question.
No, I mean, how did you propose?
We kind of we when we got our rings, kind of just asked her.
You mean you were already ready to get the rings and you didn't ask her yet? What? Were you just kind of like haphazardly jewelry shopping? Oh, look, Nikki, it's Tiffany's. Let's look in the window. No.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's different, and I guess it can be as spontaneous or non-spontaneous.
We just kind of looked
or
at each
planned.
other and we're like, yeah.
I've got to take my guy shopping tomorrow.
Yeah, just give him that look.
Yeah.
Give him that look and say, yeah. Yeah, it's great. Well, I'm sure I'll speak for Marie, or Marie can speak for Marie, but we wish you many years of
Absolutely.
beauty and happiness. And
I kind of
support.
feel like we didn't really need the question didn't really need to be asked because we're
Yeah,
already so comfortable with each other and so in tune with each
I
other.
feel like you guys have been married before.
Yeah.
That's why you were like, oh, we got to get a ring this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember when I first met you and Justin came. I mean, there definitely is a bubble around you of comfortability that, you know, you see with couples that are really comfortable and really kind of a unit already.
Right.
And
when
you
we-
weren't married
You're
when
gonna
I
have
met
a
you.
bunch of kids.
But-
Just not too soon, but we were in the car and we were driving here and she was like, the pods, and I'm like, 10 dolphins? You're gonna have a group of kids. Sorry.
I think the interesting thing about when we met was that, well, I don't know about him, but I definitely was not looking for anybody. I was just,
But he had gotten the message. You didn't get a message.
I had kissed a few frogs already and was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Right.
So I just was like, I'm just gonna focus on me. I'm just gonna love me.
I think it's interesting that you got that message.
Yeah.
And so when we met, I just immediately knew there was something different about him, and we had met through a mutual friend that I highly respect. So I knew, and it was through the internet actually that we first initially made contact. But I already knew immediately that he was different. Like there was just something about him, like just his aura, his vibe, his energy, the way he carries himself.
There was something about how he fit with you
Yes,
that was different.
And when we initiated contact, it was a friendly initiation. There was no like, oh, I like you, let's go on a date, and that's what I liked about him, because he didn't approach me in that way. And so we just became good friends, and we went out a few times and got to know each other more and more. And there was a little resistance at first, but because I was terrified, because I was afraid, because I was so used.
But he had gotten the message, so he's like, I'm not going to let this one get away.
Because I was
So
so
you were
used.
just chill.
Yeah. And
You let her freak out a little bit, and then when she was ready, she kind of came back. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, because I had been through a 6-year relationship, and I was on my own doing the independent woman thing, and just focused on myself. And I was so used to kind of being around the tall, dark, and handsome bad boy stereotype. And so, like, he was such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I mean, you do. You come across as a very sweet, kind of pure. I mean, I don't know.
And
but
it was different. And it was so different than anybody and anything I've ever been with. So I was just like, God, I hope, I hope I don't taint this guy. Like, I hope, like, I was afraid to hurt him. Just like, oh my gosh, I was just terrified all around. I had so much fear.
Well, you had the wrong model in your head of relationships, and then you had to reinvent that to fit Justin.
I had to allow myself to go through the experience, to feel nurtured, to feel loved, because all the things I knew before were wrong. So I had to allow myself and give myself permission to be loved and give love. And I had to just really accept the love that was wanting to be given to me. And I had to work through those fears and work through those issues. And I had to just keep myself grounded and just go with the flow. And I think that we've come a long way because of it. And our relationship is strong because of it, because I gave myself the permission to love myself, but to be loved as well.
Can we use that as a takeaway for people that are listening, that the best advice that I think you can give is to give yourself permission to just be, go with the flow and be calm and just be open.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there was times where I definitely felt like I wanted to run away and like, oh my gosh, the last thing I wanted to do was break anybody's heart, and so I was just terrified of being in a relationship. And then I realized that there was nothing to be afraid of. And if anything, what we had was so beautiful, because not only was our relationship already rich as it was, when we played music together for the first time, that's when the fireworks really went off. That's when we were like, whoa. I mean, we came out of that room like we had just had sex and we didn't even do anything to each other.
That was the moment. That was the moment of recognition, was the music.
Yeah.
Because they were in the creative process together.
But you know what? There's something about the vibration of music that's very magical. It mimics the same vibration as sex. And yeah, I do feel like that was your first real intimate encounter.
Definitely.
One of them,
And it did bring us a lot closer. And with the writing process still, I mean, we have a band that was created through it, all of it, and that's beautiful. And it's, our family, our family is our band.
That was your first child.
Yeah.
And so you just casually walked her into a jewelry store and sealed the deal. Score one for the blondes.
I'm still wearing the engagement ring too.
Go blondes.
I'm still wearing it. I won't take it off.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah.
So,
but the second time around with the wedding ring, I didn't get to choose.
Are you
So-
wearing it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Wow, that's a good choice. It's very different. It's almost like, it looks like a Renaissance ring.
Yeah.
Like a mermaid Renaissance ring.
Yeah, I felt like that fit her more than like the typical like ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's got that Neptunian
Yeah.
kind of element to it.
Hmm.
That's interesting that the energy of the ring called to you.
Yeah.
So I get that you, in your mind, already know what this is going to be like 30 years from now. She's discovering it, and you're just like, okay. Is that
Well,
correct?
I don't know if I would say that, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident of the future. So.
Oh my God, the one confident man in Los Angeles. What a rarity.
Well, there's a few.
Not on my side of town, but
Oh.
then again, I'm over there.
We'll have to bring you closer to here. So I do want to mention something before we get and that was love in your neighborhood or love in your backyard, as opposed to love in Hollywood. But I want to add one last thing. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I want everybody to see this cover with Sandra Bullock, who is on this OK magazine. It's from the last week of June, so it's still pretty current. We're only July 2nd. So Nikki, you'll appreciate this. I was at an event, and this is going back to around 2007, 2008, whenever she had first met Jesse James. And she was one of the guests at this event, and I was doing tarot, and she came and sat at my table. And I always ask everybody when they sit down, what do they want to look at? Do they want to look at love? Do they want to, just to kind of zero in, because I only get 5 minutes with everybody. And she had said that she wants to look at love, which I found really interesting, because I thought, wow, she doesn't need to look at her career. Like 99% of us are like, let's hear about my career. But she really wanted to know about love. Her career is great. And she probably had no questions about that. And I didn't know who she was dating. I'd never heard of Jesse James yet. And she said she started this new relationship, but it wasn't going well. And she wanted to look at it. And when we looked at it, everything that came up and all the feelings I got were about somebody who didn't want to commit. I couldn't tell who. I didn't have enough time with her, but it talked about non-committal energy, that there was somebody who had one foot out the door, and that this was not going to maybe go in the proper direction because of that. And I told her that, it's not always up to us to tell good news. And she looked at me with this very earnest face. She's such a lovely person, Sandra Bullock. She's very honest and open and full of gratitude and love and just great. And she looked at me and she said, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one with the problem. And I said, well, I mean, we could, look a little deeper. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell just by looking at this. I mean, I guess I suppose it could be you. Knowing that sometimes we attract what we have in our own hearts through projection anyway. So I thought to myself, maybe she does have a commitment issue. And she kind of looked at me, and I looked at her, and she talked about how she's going to fix it, how she's going to work on herself, how she's going to delve deep within herself to try to figure out where that commitment issue is coming from. Well, we all know what happened with Sandra Bullock and Jesse James. They wound up divorcing because he cheated, because he had other women. And the reading turned out to be right. And now she's with somebody completely new named Brian Randall. And she's so apparently happy. He came to her son's birthday party, and he was the photographer for the kids. And that's how they met.
So what's your new prediction? It's on.
Well, I'm not a
now.
celebrity psychic, so I don't make those predictions.
Honey, you're great. Come on.
Thank you, but
Come
that's
on.
not my job. But go ahead. What do you think is going to happen with Brian Randall?
Let's see.
You can actually look at pictures if you want to see them.
He's actually a very, very good person for her to be with. He's very strong. He's very directed. He knows exactly what he wants, and he wants her. And oh my God, that's going to make her life so much easier.
So you think he'll jump in with Lewis and be a father to her children? And
yeah, I think that's what he's been waiting for. The thing is, he knows exactly what he wants. There will be some tension because so does she.
Mhm.
However, I think that he does not have the same issues with loyalty.
as Jesse James.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
may have had in the past. He's Jesse James 15 years from now.
Yeah, like an evolved Jesse James.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to make this as a co-prediction because this is yours. So
Well,
we're going to make this as a co-prediction together.
okay, she's making it a co-prediction.
Yes.
But at any rate, you know, I'm happy for her because I remember that day and I remember feeling like, I wish I'd stayed with her longer. I wish I could have. But you know what? It could have been that Jesse James was her harbinger for him. And Jesse James got her to start adopting. That's when she decided she wanted to be a mother. And maybe none of the other stuff would have happened had she not have met Jesse James. So
that was
all divine order.
That was also a karmic relationship. She went for it because she wanted to pay off karma. However, it could have gone a better way. And, you know, karma doesn't play. So moving forward, I think that when she is settled down with her grandchildren, Jesse will be alone, whether he's married again or not. I think she ends up with the security and the family, and he ends up in a different situation.
Well, I'll go with that.
Okay.
I think that sounds right to me.
Okay, so we agree.
So thank you so much for joining us. I think it's about time for us to go. I'd like you to reintroduce yourself and tell people how to find you,
Thank
your
you.
radio show, your website, before we close down.
Hi, I'm celebrity psychic Marie Vargas. You can find me on my website at www.marie, M-A-R-I-E, Vargas, that's B as in bank, baby, ARGAS.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under my name. I'm also on every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Spiritual Circle of Mediums or the Spiritualist Online Network. I have a show that I co-host with journalist, screenwriter, and all-around really cool guy, Tony Sokol, who is with Den of Geek and more recently with Entertainment View. And our show is called Magic Lab Academy.
Magic Lab Academy. And you said I could come on.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so
it'll be
I'll
fun.
probably be giving you guys a shout out from Magic Lab Academy.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun.
We teach magic in a non-secular way so that whether or not you are spiritual or whether or not you're atheist, whatever faith you are, it's designed to be inclusive, not exclusive, in order to bring unity and community.
That's lovely.
Thank
You're
you.
such a personality, Marie.
Oh, thank
You're
you,
like
honey.
the full package. You're not just the psychic. You're not just the celebrity expert. You're like the full package.
I should have brought my chihuahua.
And you're not that tall, so you're like a pistol of
Oh my
of
God! If they had
personality.
made me taller, you wouldn't be able to stand.
Yes, I don't think so. She's petite, but she's fierce.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you again for joining us. We may be out dark for 2 weeks because we are closing down for the holiday, but we will be back here. Actually, the holiday is now, but we have our own holiday. It's my husband's birthday on Bastille Day, July 14th, so we're going to probably be out of town, but we will be back here again, I think the 22nd. I have a Vedic astrologer coming.
Ooh, fun.
Actually, you may know him, Josh Siegel.
Oh, I love Josh.
Yes, so Josh is coming on the 22nd.
Brilliant.
You are coming back on the show because we're going to be talking about gems and crystals and a bunch of other stuff. And you can come on and support people that are in love. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. It's always fun to do the show. We love bringing metaphysical topics and out-of-the-box themes into your living room. Thank you. Bye.